All right, so before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians and owners of the land, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. And now, I'm sure all of you have noticed that I'm carrying a scale, and I see some dread on some of your faces. And just like me, when I weigh myself on the scale, I think of eating broccoli for days, or sometimes also going on a water diet. What if I told you that this scale can be used for many more things? So, now I'd like to ask all of you to raise your hand if you know someone suffering from obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disorders, or high blood pressure. Raise your hands, guys. Look around you. That's more than 50% of people worldwide. And worldwide, we've got 7.5 billion people, so that's a lot of people. So in Australia, that's 1.4 million adults with diabetes. 2.4 million are affected by this. We've got 1 in 6 people in Australia suffering from cardiovascular disease, and that's one of the leading causes of death here. And we've got 2 in 3 adults and 1 in 4 children suffering from obesity. And all of this costs billions of dollars. And that's not just it. We've also got hospitalizations, unhappy families, unhappy children at school because they suffer from chronic disease and they've got lower self-esteem, and high risk of work-related injuries. So now, I know all of you are wondering, what can we do about this? Well, studies have shown in the past that pregnant women suffered from malnutrition, and that was during World War II when there was a food embargo, and they had less than 400 calories every single day. A few years down the track, they found out that their children had metabolic syndrome. Many other studies have been conducted after that, and they found out that women who had malnutrition and placental disorders had low birth weight babies. And on the other hand, they found out that women with obesity and diabetes had high birth weight babies, and high birth weight and low birth weight babies had a high risk of metabolic disorders later in life. And what they did about it was, one of the experiments was cross-fostering. In this experiment, they took rats, which were high birth weight and low birth weight rats, and they gave it to mothers who did not have compromised pregnancies, and they ended up normal. And interestingly, these rats who came from mothers with compromised pregnancies, their mums had problems with lactation as well. So this brings me to my stem cell solution. What if we do this in hospitals? So currently, when a baby's born, they measure the birth weight. So this is the zoomed in version. So if you measure the birth weight, if you've got high birth weight and low birth weight, you can plot that on one of the highlighted sections on the graphs. And then what if you put them on a supplemented diet? So that would mean give them maternal milk plus milk from milk banks. And I know that sounds really strange because you see blood banks and normal banks, but there is actually milk banks as well. And in these milk banks, they take the maternal history, and then if they didn't have any compromised pregnancy or any viruses or any problems during pregnancy, they donate their milk, they test it, and then they store it until use later. So what if we weigh these children, and the ones that are 10% above and 10% below the normal birth weight, we give them this supplemented milk in addition to their maternal milk. We'll end up with healthier babies. And how will this help? This will lower the prevalence of metabolic disease later in life. And it'll also result in lower hospital visits, happier families, happier children, and healthier workers. And this can also be implemented on farms. So you can do the same thing. You can measure the weight of animals, and then you can give them a supplemented diet if they're low birth weight or high birth weight, and we'll end up with a better yield. So for those of you who are like me, who feared this scale, fear no more, and thank you.